A Beastly Comedy, Canto 1.1. Descending snowy slopes unknown, my gaze upon the stars, I stumbled on the shady sights, with no one by my side. A slave I was of fear and hope, my countless aching scars, reminders of iniquities, emotions which had died. Yet bitterness remaining deep was venom in my bile. The wounds no longer visible, the traces left inside, would surface only as a pause or sorrow in my smile. I wandered in the woods without, a vision to be sought, believing every judgment was insipid, glib, or vile. Renouncing ideologies, delusions I was taught, the view that faith, democracy, philosophies, and creeds are more than webs of influence in which I had been caught. Secluded from atrocities, yet haunted by my needs, I contemplated manners as more damages accrued, and battle spread because disdain vindictive hatred breeds. But frenzy has not been decreased, brutality subdued, retreating into solitude, to sciences explore, since power, wealth, or pleasures are regardlessly pursued, and arts or faith become the cause or instruments of war. Affection I abandoned since a mission or a quest, accepted in the name of love, too often was a chore, that only led to cruelty, adventurous unrest. Frustrated I had solace sought, but fighters only found, a culture of obedience, the supplicants oppressed. Detachment does not discord end, recluses are not crowned, and yet I fled to ancient woods, ingested by the skilled, but wishing on the shady path, existence was profound. Perennial as hope may be, in darkness it will wilt, misanthropy advancing slow, like root rot in a plant. The creepers of my griefs invade, the shelter pushed atilt, until the house I should protect is crooked and aslant. My person as a structure or a home I must defend, although the beams and roof decayed, nor happiness can grant. Towards the vale of death I trod, with rancor as my friend, when suddenly I heard a voice, sagacious and mature, announce the selfish loneliness and sadness has to end. No figure slouching in the dark, I was at first unsure if it had been a phantom of my fear that hollered so, for madness might a revenant of bygone dreams conjure. Unhappy pilgrim, lost in life, with nowhere else to go, you must be seeking solid faith, escaping from your tears. For no one else descends the slope than scribes who want to know how deep the dales depressive are, how fast the nimble years. For any person sensible would not disasters seek, vicissitudes, adversities on desolate frontiers. For hardships follow human scent, behind the poets sneak, and find the houses affluent, inhabitants too blithe, to ravage hope and honesty, produce existence bleak, until devoid of sympathy they in dejection writhe. You need a guide explaining why the sadness you have felt is not enough to chase the night, pursue the reaper's scythe. In caverns of the underworld defunctive blows are dealt to victims who immortal stay in chaos and distress, and in the tunnels eons with the maggots they have dwelt. We lose affection like a dream, a spectre of success, and yet the human spirit thrives, ingenuous or wise. Be grateful of the light you have, the minds condemned have less. But who are you? I asked the man, to errant soul's surprise. Reveal your faith or face to him who shudders here afraid, a pilgrim too incredulous your motives to surmise. A miner of despondency who in the quarry stayed, to study how the dead behave, to understand our fate. A Tuscan sinner seeking love, a shimmer in the shade, a wanderer who wished to write and poetry create, and find the source of gravity, benevolence and light, a scholar and a scientist delighting in debate, a tentative theologist whom popes and bishops cite, an amateur philosopher, a lamb embracing trees, a singer who has seen the wrong and hopes to find the right, a victim of malaria, acquainted with disease. A mirror of your heart I am, like any other man, presenting you my expertise on mystical decrees, on matters of morality, the wickedness to ban, and how religious arguments reactionaries use, with purposes perfidious, to introduce a plan, defining bishops competent to reprobates accuse. When mercy is forgotten and no lenience is shown, the judges proudly rational authority abuse. While I persisted, blood and bone, euphoric was my tone, my song revealed revolving spheres where treasures do not rust, unseen by spirits insolent, whose reason rules alone. A pillar standing in the rain, eroding into dust, atoning for my arrogance, the world I want to show, to pilgrim poets losing faith and friends devoid of trust. Like Virgil was my honest guide, where Styx and Lethe flow, I shall reveal the chamber where the worm immortal screams, for me must see the dragon's tooth, and through the bowels go, a caustic sewer, streaming bile, the graveyard of your dreams, emerging from the filth and grime, to find the light of day, where reason is a comfort, and unclouded water gleams. In modern thoughts you waste away, from kindness gone astray, consumed by feathers fallen, or the trite ambitions failed. Salvation is not mine to give, and sombre is my way, and often I have whims of God, the nature harsh, bewailed. Yet bliss was presence, nothing more, a shiver in my pores, redemption by the altar felt, my fingers crossing paled, sensations on my skin divine, divine as well my flaws. Exhausted I am close to joy, and rise above our pain, aware that in the labours lost the sullen spirit soars. But when ambition sings a tune of sorrows felt in vain, you seek outside the wretched self forgiveness, God, or peace, although they are a fountain or a spring within your brain, and not a truth discovered by philosophers in Greece, a magic stone that turns the soul of iron into gold, material conditions which your suffering decrease. Beloved Dante, I had sought his wisdom fresh and old, although desiring truth or light, he never could admit that haughty are the questions that a scribe considers bold. Resolved to find the fertile land, I promise not to quit, but trust you as the safest guide, and follow where you lead. Descend to earth, reveal the path, to your hand I submit. However you may chasten me, for longing to be freed, I have not found security, but shadows who despair, because we lack for courage and a brighter vision need. In spite of my submissive words, reluctance I declare, for if I have admired your verse, the passion and the skill, as often I was not convinced your judgment has been fair. We wended down the gradient, the steep and sandy hill, until we reached a river wide, a remnant of our pride, the silent sorrows, flooding tears, the waters never still. To caverns like a gaping mouth, where incubi reside, the steady flow of summers past, the sum of sadness streamed, restrained by narrow banks of stone that centuries defied. For wading through the rising reeds, their peace eternal seemed, as if no gods, no poets, popes, or dragons had here stepped, since canon were but horrors that a crazy prophet dreamed. And Dante said, "As you have pledged my guidance to accept, I vow to raise my hairy fist against the looming threat, as surely as the memories of Beatrice I kept. Beset by demons, hungry hounds, the sharp incisors whet, your fortitude approaching faith determines when we leave, although the mind will stay behind, unless you may forget. Your body will be safe enough, your spirit free to grieve, for thinking of humanity, a hostage of our fears, I do not wonder why in friends we enemies perceive. How fortunate you are to breathe and see the healthy years, when sciences or industry prosperity have spread. How broken yet your soul appears, disconsolate in tears. A guide I am of faith and hope, exuberant though dead, resolved to show the marches slow where soldiers are coerced, as sullen victims suffer on the paths they chose to tread. Remember while you weep for worms, the creatures crawling cursed, that darkness must surround our eyes before we see the dawn, and pray there is compassion true and grace among the worst, as in the caverns of the mind the raging beast is born."